But if we start thinking about like the big picture of Black people in America as a whole, in my opinion, our objective as a whole is figuring out how do we catch up, right? We've been hamstrung, we've been beaten down, we've been held back. So how do we figure out, like, if we know that we're behind. We know that we're behind by a lot, no fault of our own, but we're behind. So if you're behind in a race, not only do you don't have to run the same speed as the person that's ahead of you. You have to run exponentially faster than them to catch up to them. And then you have to kick it into another gear to pass them and have enough energy to pass them, right? So if we think about that question, not just in respect to the business itself, but Black people as a whole, we should be thinking, what is it going to take for us as Black people as a whole to catch up and then surpass? So in my opinion, like, and it goes to something that like Tyler mentioned, was, you know, when you have an opportunity to get like 400,000, 500,000, if we're thinking about million, sorry, my bad. I'm thinking small, right? Like, but if you can get 400 million, 500 million, 800 million, 1 billion, if you can get to the point where you could do that, playing chess, strategically speaking, that's a good strategic move to make. If in your back of your mind, you're always thinking at the end of the day, it's always going to be about Black at the end of the day, right? So, but there are certain sacrifices that have to be made. Success doesn't come without sacrifice. So, you know, one of the things that Tyler mentioned, he was like, oh, you know, when you sell for 500 million, the company that you're selling for has to figure out how they've already ran their numbers. They've already done the numbers. They've seen what the projections are. They've done the market analysis. They've done these growth trajectory projections, like you name it. They've done all this. And you're taking that money saying, okay, like they need to recoup and this is how they're going to recoup. And sometimes that's going to be shifting your brand. But if you in the back of your mind realize like, okay, I'll take that deal. That might be a small L for us in one area, but it's going to lead to a much bigger win in another area. This is the strategy that I hope that we as Black people start to really appreciate a lot more. This losing a battle, winning the war mindset. This art of taking one step back, 2 steps forward, right? So this is just a general thought that I had about what he said, but I'll let you chime in.
I think that, because I agreed with the statement, but it's not even necessarily what I got out of it was obviously because he was giving the Chipotle example, right? Like, yeah. And just to clarify, because he doesn't go into too much depth in the conversation, but Chipotle had been this new brand that was based in Denver, only solely based in Denver. They had a couple of locations. They happened to get a board meeting with somebody at McDonald's, one of the investors, and they were able to secure investment in Chipotle very early on. And so you have this huge brand like McDonald's that's investing in you now. And they were able to scale to 500 restaurants, I think it was. It was something crazy, a substantial amount around the country now because you have this investment from McDonald's. McDonald's had made a couple of suggestions, you should offer breakfast, you should have a drive-through, you should change the name to be Fresh Mexican Grill, something that kind of sounded like Qdoba-ish, aligned it with Qdoba. And they were just thanks, but no thanks. And they didn't do it, which is cool because they at least they had the opportunity to say no, this is our brand, we get our brand, and this is going to change our brand. So when they did that, McDonald's was all right, well, we don't really necessarily feel like this is gonna grow, so we're gonna bow out, and they sold them back the shares, and then they got their brand back. But at the same time, they were able to invest. They got lucky. But at the same time, they were able to get this investment from McDonald's and still kind of maintain the character of their brand. Some people don't have that opportunity to do that, but you also are not going to have the opportunity to grow to 500 businesses. So you have to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a national chain? Do you want to, like, how big do you want your brand to grow and still be able to maintain the integrity of your brand? Because some things you're not going to have control over, and you're going to have to say, hey, if I'm going to take this tens and hundreds of millions of dollars to help expand my business, there's going to be some things that I'm not going to like, that I'm going to have to do, like starting a drive-through or changing the name or doing something along those lines.